This video is our follow-up to May 8th, 2026 episode, the RV Weight Sticker Lie. Which brand failed? In that first video, I looked at 5 major RV brands: nuCamp, Ember, Winnebago, Thor, which includes Jayco, and Forest River. And it showed you real examples of weight sticker and certification label problems from 2023 through 2026. Today, I'm going to do 2 things. First, I'm going to show you the actual numbers behind those examples so you can see exactly how many units each brand had to fix for label errors. Second, I'll explain precisely why I graded each brand the way I did. nuCamp got a C, and Ember got a C-, with Winnebago with a D, and Thor/Jayco with a D-, and finally Forest River with the F. As always, I put direct links to all official record documents and summaries in the description below so you can click and verify every single claim yourself. Before we dive, let's talk about AI accusation. You hear it. I get it all the time, and I'm getting hit with it again. After that last video, somebody jumped into the comments and said, our channel is AI, and claimed the RVs we highlighted only had a few hundred vehicle recalls anyway. Let me respond to that straight on. I pull my information from public official documents, like the nhtsa recall PDFs, Part 57.3 reports, manufacturer, owner, and dealer letters, and mainstream recall rundowns that mirror NHTSA own database. That's the exact same process that big media outlets and the big RV channels use when they fact check their safety issues. You don't have to like my style or my conclusions, but the data I'm about to show you is not something I made up or even hallucinating about. It's straight out of the official government recall records that anyone can look up. If you disagree with how I interpret the data, email me and let's have a real conversation. But just shouting out AI in the comments doesn't change what's printed in those PDFs. Now let's talk about how I graded these vans, and then we'll walk through each one. To keep this completely fair, I focused on one narrow category: recalls where the problem is the label itself. That means federal certification labels, federal weight place cards, tire and loading information labels, and occupant and cargo carrying capacity labels. I did not count recalls where the defects was a cooktop, a slide out, or a solar panel, or anything mechanical, unless the recall said the weight of the certification label was wrong. Then I look at 4 specific things for each brand, starting with volume, how many label-only recalls they had from 2023 through 2026. Then I look at impact, how many total units were affected. And then scope, how many different model lines and years were involved. Then I finally look at severity, what kind of label errors they had. Were they just simple typos or serious weight and capacity mistakes? Brands with fewer label recalls, smaller affected populations, and more limited scope scored better. Brands with repeat label problems, bigger population, and multiple kinds of critical label errors scored much worse. That's the grading framework. It's not a judgment on every product they make. It's a score specifically on how often they ship RVs with wrong or missing information on weight-related labels. So let's start with nuCamp. When I looked up Pleasant Valley Teardrop Trailers, the parent company behind nuCamp, in the recall system for the 2023 through 2026 window, I was looking purely for label-only recalls. Here's exactly what I found for them. Let me be crystal clear. nuCamp has 0 label-only recalls in 2023 or 2024 in the official NHTSA data. Owners may have individual issues, but there's no NHTSA recalls that just fix the sticker in those 2 years. Where nuCamp does show up on weight labels is later. In 2025 through 2026, NHTSA campaign 25V814000 list Pleasant Valley teardrop trailers recalling certain 2025 and 2026 nuCamp tag, tab 320, tab 360, and tab 400 trailers. The defect is incorrect weight information on the cargo carrying capacity and the tire and loading information labels. The remedy is to replace those labels. On the plus side, compared to the other brands in this video, nuCamp records for 2023 and 2024 is totally clean in the label-only category. On the downside, by 2025 and 2026, they still allowed a label-only recall to hit multiple body families at once, and it wasn't a small typo. It was an incorrect CCC and tire and loading data that directly affects how owners had to load their trailers. Next is Ember. Their recall pattern is similar to nuCamp's in timing, but the label issue hit a little harder, which drops them slightly lower to a C-. Looking at 2024, recall 24V667. Ember filed a recall covering 2024 Ember Overland Series, the Touring Edition, and the E-Series travel trailers. The defect is directly on the federal certificate label, and the cargo carrying capacity printed is incorrect. The notice lists exactly 4 specific units by VIN. That's a very small population, but a critical label error. Now, looking at 2025, I did not see an Ember label recall. Moving on to 2026, we need to look at recall 26V065000. This is where the trouble scales up. This recall covers 317 model year 2026 E-Series and Overland Series travel trailers. The problem is again on the federal certificate label, incorrect unloaded vehicle weight and cargo carrying capacity. Ember's label only tallies for this window. Looking at the 2023, there were 0 units. 2024, 4 units. 2025, 0 units. And 2026, 317 units. That's a total of 321 Ember RVs recalling specifically for certificate or weight label problems. Now, you might not think, well, what's 300? Well, if you own one of those 300, it's a problem. Now, we're not just talking 5 brands here. We're talking a total of recalls when we're looking at this. So, one manufacturer might have 300, another might have 7, but when you total that all together, that becomes an issue for the industry. So let's go back to Ember. Why is a C- instead of a C? Ember has 2 separate certificate label recalls on the most important sticker on the trailer, and the second one is a massive jump from 4 units to 317 units. That suggests label control didn't tighten up quickly enough. You aren't the worst, Ember, but you clearly have to work on doing better. Now, let's talk about Winnebago, the star. They were graded a D by us. Winnebago's only recalls form a pattern across several years and multiple product lines. It's not an isolated mistake. It's a series of different label failures. Looking at the 2023 Revel, recall 23V032. 504 Revel camper vans built with one size of tire, but the tire and loading information label lists a different size. Looking at the 2024 Sunstar, recall number 24V172, 19 Class A motorhomes where certificate labels showed the wrong GVWR and the wrong tire size and pressure. Going to 2025 Access and Voyager, recall number 25V-180. 70 travel trailers with incorrect tire inflation pressure listed on both the federal and tire loading place cards. Going on 2025 Federal Place Card Error 25V-034. Incorrect dry weights listed on the motorhome place card, altering the stated cargo capacity. Moving on to 2026 Access. Recall number 26V-052. 100 travel trailers with certificate labels that didn't show the GAWR at all, straight up violating the 49 CFR Part 567. If we only add up the recalls where we have visible unit counts, we're talking 693 Winnebago RVs with label or place card issues from 2023 through 2026. So why a D? Winnebago has multiple different label defects. Wrong tire size, wrong GVWR, wrong inflation pressure, missing GAWR, wrong dry weight across both motorhomes and towables. That points to a systemic weakness in label data management. I didn't drop them to an F because we're not seeing a single enormous thousands of units label recalls, but the pattern is too frequent and broad for a passing grade. So let's go on to Thor. Thor is a massive umbrella, so I focus purely on Jayco and Integra products where label and weight information are the actual defect. Today, they earn a D-. Here are the big reasons why. Let's look at the 2025 Jayco J-Feather Air. 49 units with incorrect GAWR on the label listing 5,145 pounds instead of 4,400 pounds. Going on to recall 25V578, which is the 2026 Jayco Seismic. 75 units recalled for incorrect GAWR and their certificate labels. Now we're looking at recall 25V847000, which is the 2025 Jayco Melbourne, the 2026 Melbourne Prestige, and the Integra Quest. Certification and OCC labels contain incorrect weight ratings. Now, the next recall is not exactly the weight label, but it does affect the weight. And we're looking at recall 26V233, which is the 2025 through the 2026 Integra Ethos. It involves 122 units where the OCCC and tire labels show up on an incorrect number of seat-belted equipment and seating positions. So why a D-? These aren't minor typos. They are core safety numbers. Misstating seated capacity, you're creating a very real risk that owners will overload their rigs without realizing it. It's too frequent and it's too critical to be treated as just paperwork. Now, finally, Forest River, which earned the F for this video and the last video. Forest River shows repeated problems with federal place cards and weight labels across multiple product lines and years involving sizable populations. Here's a quick tour. Let's look at recall 23V-226. It involves the 2023 Cherokee CKT 36 FB as in boy 0P. It has 70 units where the GVWR printed on the place card is incorrect. Then we move on to recall 24V-066, which is the 2023 through the 2024 Salem and Wildwood. 107 fifth wheels where the tire size printed on the place card is wrong. Moving on to recall 24V-530, another federal place card non-compliance issue detailed in Part 573 report, and the recall 25V-034, incorrect federal place card information requiring placement place cards. Now we have recall 25V-111, incorrect weight ratings on place cards violating the FMV SS 110 and the 120, and recall 26V-154 Forest River Entourage. Place cards listed 7 seating positions where the motorhome actually has 8. Now recall 26V-221, the 2026 Westbrook and Adventure. 173 travel trailers recalled because the dry weight on the federal place card is incorrect. Just counting the visible numbers, 70, 107, and 173, you have hundreds of Forest River RVs with the wrong GVWR, tire, or the dry weight data. Why and F? The problems are frequent and spread across multiple model families and divisions and run continuously from 2023 right into 2026. The errors directly affect how owners load, tow, and seat people. Compared with brands where label problems are contained, Forest River's record here shows too many label-only recalls over too many years to justify anything but a failing grade. To wrap this up, a C or a C- doesn't mean a brand is perfect. It means that in this 2023 through 2026 window, their documented label-only recalls are fewer and more contained than the worst offenders. A D or D- means you're seeing repeated serious errors in the labels that owners rely on to load and tow safely. An F means the pattern or label problem is broad and persistent enough that you should be very skeptical on what the sticker says until you've verified them by weighing that RV yourself. This grading doesn't tell you which RV you personally should like. What it does tell you is how often these companies had to call customers back because the numbers printed on the RV itself was wrong. No matter which brand you own, I strongly recommend you checking your VIN on the federal recall site, reading any label-related campaigns for your model, and comparing the sticker on your RV to the corrected data in the recall documents. If you want to verify every single number and description in this video, all the official NHTSA documents and industry recall summaries I used are linked below. Just click on any of these links and you'll go straight to the source PDF or the article. As always, thanks for watching and we'll see you on the road. Bye now.